At the flag-off of mass vaccination against COVID-19 Friday, November 19, 2021, the federal government restated its decision that December 1 remains expiration of the deadline for the vaccination of its civil servants, failure which they will be denied access to their offices and ultimately forfeit their salaries. It has also reiterated that any citizen who presents a fake COVID-19 vaccination card stands the risk of being prosecuted. These decisions have informed Panorama's outlook from Port Harcourt Network Center on highlighting the many sides to COVID-19 vaccination. I am Jenny Pasi. Thanks for joining us. President Muhammadu Buhari has formally broken his silence on demands in some quarters for unconditionally release of the proscribed IPOB leader Nnamdi Kanu, currently standing trial, saying doing so runs contrary to doctrine of separation of powers between the executive and the judiciary. This was while receiving a group under the auspices of highly respected Igbo greats, led by the First Republic parliamentarian and Minister of Aviation, Chief Mbazulike Amechi. State House correspondent Adamu Sambo reports.
The 93-year-old statesman, Chief Mbazulike Amechi, had described the situation in the southeast as painful and pathetic, lamenting that businesses have collapsed, education is crumbling, and there is fear everywhere. During the closed-door engagement, Chief Amechi pleaded for a political rather than military solution, requesting that if Nnamdi Kanu is released to him as the only First Republic minister still alive, he would no longer say the things he had been saying, stressing that he could control him. The Nigerian said twice he had interfaced with Nnamdi Kanu in the past, and the latter rescinded orders earlier given on civil disobedience. He concluded that he doesn't want to leave this planet without peace, returning to his country, maintaining that he believes in one big, united Nigeria, a force in Africa. Chief Amechi told President Buhari that he wants him to be remembered as a person who saw Nigeria burning and quenched the fire. President Muhammadu Buhari told his guests that they have made an extremely difficult demand on him as leader of the country. The implication of their request, he said, is very serious. The president takes pride in the fact that since coming to power in the last 6 years, nobody would say he had confronted or interfered in the work of the judiciary. He told the leader of the highly respected Igbo greats that God has not only spared and given him a clear head at this age, but also very sharp memory, saying a lot of people half his age are confused already. The demand made, President Buhari said, is heavy, concluding, however, that he would consider it. The president said when Nnamdi Kanu jumped bail, got arrested, and brought back to the country, his position remains he be subjected to the system to make his case in court instead of giving very negative impressions of the country from outside. The president feels it's even a favor to give him that opportunity. From the State House, Adamu Sambo, NTA News.
And Culture Minister Lai Mohammed has made a case for UNESCO to support Nigeria in its war against the growing menace of fake news and misinformation. The minister made the request at a meeting with the Deputy Director General for Communication and Information, Tafik Jelasi. Anthony Fossen reports.
Meeting on the sidelines of the ongoing 41st session of UNESCO General Conference, where Nigeria's permanent representative to UNESCO, Dr. Hajusani, accompanied the Information and Culture Minister to the meeting with the Assistant Director General for Communication and Information, Taufik Jelasi. For both men, the media space in this contemporary era need reforms as it threatens global peace.
We have an extremely free society. We have an extremely tolerant, administration And I have said it several times that on the contrary, it is the government that is at the mercy of the media in Nigeria. I know for a fact that there are at least 145 online publications today that are devoted solely and exclusively to harassing the federal government on a daily basis.
On what Nigeria is doing to contain the situation, in his words, twin evil, he explained this way.
I saw this new invasion of fake news and disinformation as more lethal and more dangerous than even terrorism. Especially when you are dealing with a country like Nigeria, where the naysayers, I'll say this, have succeeded in actually looking at every issue from the religious or the ethnic perspective. I'm saying this for you to please understand that UNESCO needs to help government.
Tafik Jelassi said Nigeria is a country with a rich media profile and will get all the support from UNESCO. Nigeria will be hosting next year's Global Media and Information Literacy Week.
I think we have to prepare ourselves for, I would say, either hybrids or in presential, because of course your teams are on the ground, so at least you can have national representation with UNESCO team. That's the minimum, I would say. If the situation allows foreign delegations to come to Nigeria and participate, that's for the better, of course. So I think that's the issue of what format, what mode. It's a week, so it's 5 days. Panel discussions, keynote addresses, both from representatives of the political sphere and the public sphere, but as well as academia, civil society,
in Paris,
NGOs.
France, Anthony Forson, NTA News.
Is not compromising the safety as well as standards of COVID-19 vaccines and will continue to keep adopting measures geared towards protecting citizens and stopping the spread of the virus. Secretary to the Government of the Federation and Chairman, Presidential Steering Committee on COVID-19, Boss Mustafa said this at the national flag-off of the COVID-19 mass vaccination campaign in Abuja. Olusheye Adeabo has the details.
More than 6 million Nigerians have so far been vaccinated with the first dose of COVID-19 vaccines, but that is put at just 5.6% of the country's entire population, a data still far from the set target of vaccinating at least 50% of the country's population by the end of January 2022. This national COVID-19 mass vaccination campaign is the latest drive of the federal government for deployment of vaccines to control the virus.
It is important to mention that through this mass COVID vaccination campaign initiative, arrangements have been made to ease all known bottlenecks to access, because the National Primary Healthcare Development Agency has expanded vaccination sites. This vaccination is free because government remains conscious of its responsibility to safeguard the health of our people.
Our aim is to have vaccinated 55 million residents of Nigeria by the end of January 2022, which is about 50% of our target population.
I came to the Federal Secretariat today and I saw a flag-off banner of the COVID-19 vaccination. So that was why I came in to partake in it.
Between now and the first quarter of 2022, we have been able to secure up to 100 million doses of the vaccines. But even beyond what has been committed, we are also aware that additional donations are coming.
The advice is that Nigerians who are yet to receive the COVID-19 vaccine should register to get protected and protect others around them. In Abuja, Olusheye Adeabo, NTA News.
government to eradicate COVID-19 necessitated the directives by the federal government to give deadline of December 1 for all civil servants to take their vaccine, given the devastating effects of the pandemic on all spheres of life. These stakeholders said must be done carefully and systematically, else it endangers attendant consequences. Ijoma Ogweke in this report takes a look at the federal government's directives on COVID-19 vaccination and compliance.
Nigeria is taking a cue from other countries of the world in engaging different sections of the populace to establish the safety and effectiveness of the COVID-19 vaccine. As expected, the directive has been generating debates and controversies, with some concerned citizens advocating that Nigeria should seek ways to convince the citizenry on the merits of the COVID-19 vaccination while making the vaccines available.
I have taken the first one. The second one, I would have taken it last week, but it's not available. I went to teaching hospital, it's not available. I'm not against people taking it, but let them take it out of conviction. Let's educate them. Let's tell them, you can do this, you can do this.
As an individual, I have the right to say I am not taking a treatment. And I think the implication to force people to doing it, for those who have made up their minds that they don't want to get vaccinated because of the theories around it, of course they may be forced, if they can't have access to government facilities, to go get these things one way or the other in the Nigerian style. But ordinarily, the government needs to educate people on the benefits of getting vaccinated.
As the ultimatum for all civil servants to receive the COVID-19 vaccine draws nearer, vaccination centers in Rivers State are receiving progressive reports, while there are fears that some are likely to cut corners in order not to be shut out of their offices. Some authorities at vaccination centers have assured that the processes of taking the jab does not permit any sharp practice. They said government should ensure adequate measures are put in place to check authenticity of cards presented by workers at entry points.
On the jab taking, it's giving rise to these sharp practices we are seeing now. Just like voters' card registration, you put deadline, and at the end of the day, you see persons can't print, even when they go there and then they don't get it, and it's still difficult for them to get it, So it's also playing out in this job taking thing.
The fact is, once you get your card and you're vaccinated, at the gate, you ought to have a machine, a scanner. Even on your phone, you can use a barcode to scan to show that you've taken. You understand? Once you go through this process, and the card is authenticated, you forget it. That other side shows that you've taken. At this point is where, if there's a sharp practice, it will affect everybody.
While the mass COVID-19 vaccination campaign is on in different quarters, emphasis has been placed on compliance, enlightenment, and availability of the vaccines. In Port Harcourt, Ijoma Ogweke, NTA News.
And to talk more on this is Dr. Emmanuel Ocheli. Dr. Emmanuel Ocheli is a former Deputy Chairman, Medical Advisory Committee, University of Port Harcourt Teaching Hospital. You're welcome, sir.
Good afternoon.
Thank you. Thank you. Now, as the former Deputy Chairman, Medical Advisory Committee, you are in the best position to tell us the situation report of the response of vaccination. What is the situation report? Is it impressive? Would you say it's impressive, or more advocacy is needed?
For us in Nigeria and for us in Port Harcourt, our observation is that the response has not been very, very impressive. Even for healthcare professionals for whom it was targeted at first, a lot of them are still unvaccinated. And that means that there needs to be a lot of advocacy, much more advocacy. The federal government policy of starting with health professionals was to convince the public that it is safe to give the vaccine. And if the healthcare professionals don't take the vaccine, then we cannot convince the general public to do so. And this is why advocacy is needed. Advocacy is also needed for the public to understand what the vaccine actually is. the vaccine is not meant to infect people with COVID-19. The vaccine does not have any viral particle. The vaccine is an mRNA viral sequence that was developed, and it does not contain any viral particles, so it cannot infect anybody. This point has to be made to the public. So there's a lot of advocacy, there's a lot of education of the public to be done, and this is what we need for our country before we start exposing them to the vaccine. But I think we are past that stage. But advocacy is a continuous process, and it must be done at every stage.
Okay, so that's the much we can take on Panorama from Port Harcourt Network Center. We now go to our other network center for football.